Hello, mathematicians. Welcome to another math class with me, Miss Taylor. I'm glad you're here. Alrighty, so today we are going to practice some addition without renaming. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. But first, let's look at our fact practice packet. We have our new packet for today. So we are now on our packet number 2. So if you don't have that one, you might have your old one. You want to pause the video and see if you can try to go find your packet number 2 that we are starting today. Also for today, you will need a pencil like usual. If you want to work on a whiteboard, you could have a whiteboard and a whiteboard marker. You will need your textbook. So I've got my textbook here. You will need your workbook. And I think that's about it. So if you do not have those things, pause the video, go get those things, and then we will get started. So our first page in our fact practice packet number 2 is right here. I wrote the date at the top. That kind of helps me to keep track of which page I'm doing. So right now it is October 1st. Happy October 1st. So it is the month of October. And so I put 10-1. October is the 10th month and it's the first day, 10-1. So we're doing a little bit more review with adding 8, just because that tends to be kind of a one that's sort of tricky for us sometimes, especially this fact. For some reason, this is one a lot of us get stuck on. I know for a while when I was younger, this really was one that I had a hard time remembering and mastering. So 7 plus 8 is 15. We know 7 plus 7 is 14. We know 8 plus 8 is 16. So kind of think about your doubles facts to help you if this is one that's kind of tricky for you. Same goes for this one. If you know 8 plus 8 is 16, you know 9 plus 9 is 18, you can use those doubles facts to help you. So then 9 plus 8 would be 17. Nice job. So again, our goal is to finish this in 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes. See if you can get a little bit faster. Try to time yourself. If you have a little timer, you could ask a parent to help time you and to really make sure that we are mastering our facts. And that way, when we get to adding and subtracting bigger numbers, it's not so hard for us. We don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about these facts that we've already mastered. All right, so we're going to do our fact practice packet. Then we are going to look at page 32 in our textbook. So there's page 32. And on page 32, we are going to work on adding. And we're going to do some practice with addition without renaming. And renaming is kind of a fancy word that just means when we have too many digits in one place. Um, so, for example, sometimes we'll be adding in the ones place or the tens place or the hundreds place. And then sometimes we have too many, and then we have to do some renaming. So, we'll talk more about what that means a little bit later. But it has to do with when we have too many in one place. So, let's go ahead and read our first problem here. We have there are 236 boys and 362 girls. How many children are there? How many children are there? So we have some boys and some girls, and the question is, how many children are there? In other words, the number of boys would be one part, the number of girls would be the other part, and we're trying to find out how many there would be altogether. So if we wanted to think of it as a number bond, there would be 236 boys, 362 girls, and then we are trying to find out our whole number. In other words, just how many children are there? And so to find that, when we have kind of these bigger numbers, sometimes we can't always use mental math. Sometimes we can, and we can figure it out in our minds. And for this one, actually, we probably could use mental math if we looked at the ones place. 2 plus 6. What's 2 plus 6? Would be 8. How about the tens place? 6 tens plus 3 tens, 9 tens, and then the hundreds. 300s plus 200s would be 5. So with this one, we actually can think about it using mental math. It's just a little bit harder to keep those numbers all in our minds. I was writing them down like the ones and the tens and the hundreds, but it's a little bit trickier if we were to try to just hold them in our minds. So another option for us is to use something called the vertical algorithm. And vertical means up and down, and an algorithm is kind of just a way to solve a problem. And so we can use the vertical algorithm to solve this problem. And what that is that means we line these two numbers up. And we often use the bigger number. We put the bigger number on the top. So I would put 362. And then right underneath, I'm going to put my other number, 236. It's really important when we are writing down these bigger numbers that we line them up. So the the ones place has to go right underneath the other ones place. So here we have 2 ones, here we have 6 ones. They should be right on top of each other. Here is the tens place. So the 6 tens should be right on top of the 3 tens. And then the hundreds place, we have 300s, should be right on top of the 200s. Sometimes I even like to draw lines to separate the hundreds, tens, and ones. And that kind of helps me. So if you were wondering, if you see in our textbook here, they have the letters HTO, and that stands for hundreds, tens, and ones. And so that is just kind of a nice strategy for us to keep track of our different place values. And then when we are adding with the vertical algorithm, there's a couple things we always do. We always start in the ones place, and we always start at the top. Now, for this type of a problem, it doesn't really matter so much, but pretty soon we're going to get to some bigger numbers where we have to do some renaming, and then it really will make a difference. So it's just a good habit for us to start now with always starting in the ones place, and we always start at the top. So here we have 2 ones plus 6 ones, and we know that makes 8 ones. Then I'm going to move next door to my tens. I have 6 tens plus 3 tens, and that makes 9 tens, same as 90. And then we move over to the hundreds. I have 300s plus 200s, and that makes 500s. And so our answer, 598. And let's see, we had 236 boys, 362 girls. See what our answer makes sense. There are 598 children. I think that would make sense because these are the two parts and this is our whole number. All right, so, and in our textbook here, they're kind of showing us what that would look like if we used our little number discs or our pieces that have the ones and the tens and the hundreds. So we definitely could use our place value chart, and we could put our 200s, our 3 tens, and our 6 ones. So it's kind of like up here, they're putting this number. And then down below here, they're putting this number. They've got their 300s, then their 6 tens, and their 2 1s. And then they're showing us step by step what we do. So this is kind of what we just did. We first add the ones. So I mentioned when we're using this vertical algorithm, we always start in the ones place, and we always start at the top. So we're going to add 6 plus 2, and that gives us 8 ones. And we're going to go to the tens place. 3 tens plus 6 tens makes 9 tens. And then finally we move over to the hundreds, 200s plus 300s, and that makes 500s. All right. So we add the ones, add the tens, add the hundreds. So that is what we're going to practice today. Over here, we have a couple of questions here about adding ones and tens and hundreds. So there's kind of a little trick here. If you know 2 plus 3, and I think you do, then you can quite quickly figure out 20 plus 30. You can also quite quickly figure out 200 plus 300 because 2 plus 3 is 5, right? 2 plus 3 is 5. So we can think about this as 2 tens plus 3 tens makes 5 tens. It's sort of just the same, except we just have to add a 10. So we could think of it as 2 tens plus 3 tens equals 5 tens. And we know this is 2 tens, 20, plus 30 is 3 tens. So our answer, 5 tens, is 50. So if we know 20 plus 30 makes 50, because we knew 2 plus 3 makes 5, we can also figure out the hundreds. And you probably noticed this 0 here, right? When we're doing tens, we just add a 0. 20 plus 30 equals 50. Well, what about the hundreds? 200 plus 300. How many zeros are we adding? 2, right? So our answer would be a 5 with 2 zeros. Okay? So it's sort of a little pattern here. If we know, let me erase this and think about it as, if we know 2 plus 3 is 5, then we can just add a 10. 20 plus 30 equals 50, or 2 tens plus 3 tens equals 5 tens. We can also do the hundreds. 200 plus 300 equals 500, or we could say it as 200s, 300s, 500s. All right, so that's kind of just a strategy to help us with remembering how we can use our ones facts to help us with tens and hundreds. Okay, so we have a little bit of practice here adding up our numbers using the vertical algorithm. So this would be really good practice for you to do a few more of these just to practice. And again, the important part here is when we're adding using our vertical algorithm, and whether we're doing 2-digit plus 2 digits or 3 digits plus 2 digits, the important thing is to always start in the ones place, and then we always start at the top. And then we go ones, tens, hundreds. So like this one, if we start in the ones place, 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 tens plus 3 tens is 8 tens. And 2 hundreds plus nothing is 2 hundreds. So sometimes when we're doing this, when we don't have anything to add, it's just 2 plus nothing. I tell students if it helps you to put a 0 there so that you know you have 0 hundreds, that would also be a really good strategy. Let's just take a look at one more together. How about this one? And then I will let you go ahead and get started on your homework. 834 plus 15. All right, I'm ready to go. Wait a second. Am I ready to go? 4, hmm, 4 plus 0, or is it 4 plus, oh, wait a second. Did you see what I did wrong? Yeah, I didn't really line up my numbers very well, did I? Here I've got my hundreds, tens, and ones. And if I'm going to add 15, 15 is made up of 1 10 and 5 ones. So I've really got to make sure to line up my numbers properly so that I don't get confused about, wait a second, was that a 1 or was that a 10? I'm not really sure. And then, like I mentioned, if it helps you, if you don't have any hundreds that you're adding, if it helps you to do that, that's a really good strategy. All right, so then we've got our ones place because we always start in the ones place and we always start at the top. 4 plus 5 is 9. Let's move over to our tens. We have 3 tens plus 1 10 makes 4 tens. And 8 hundreds plus 0 hundreds or plus nothing makes 8 hundreds. So that is our answer. So again, we're going to start in the ones place, start at the top, and we're going to line up our ones, our tens, and our hundreds. And then when you do your homework for today, it looks like this. So on the first page, we're kind of practicing using our ones to help us. If we know 5 ones plus 3 ones makes 8 ones, we can use that to help us with 5 tens plus 3 tens makes 8 tens. In other words, 50 plus 30 makes 80. So here kind of thinking about, well, if I can use my ones facts to help me with my tens facts, which can also help me with my hundreds facts. So it's really prudent to kind of see those patterns in numbers and how they can help us. Now, when you get to this other page, page 39, on this page, I would really encourage you to draw lines to separate the place value. So, like here, we have 1 plus 7. It's a really good idea to draw a line here and then another line here so that we can see, oh, this is our hundreds, this is our tens, and this is our ones. Let me zoom in a little bit for us. So, it's a really prudent thing to do so that we make sure that we are adding our ones and then we're adding our tens and then we're adding our hundreds because we are going to do some bigger numbers pretty soon and we might kind of run out of space. So it's a really good idea for us right now to make some good habits of doing our work carefully and being nice and neat and organized. And so this one, 1 plus 7 is 8. So we have 8 ones. Let's move over to the tens place. I have 0 plus 9 makes 9 tens. And 9 tens, this 9 tens, it actually means 90, doesn't it? And then our hundreds place, we have 5 plus 5 hundreds plus nothing. Again, if it helps you, put that little 0 there. That's always a good idea. And then we have 500. And then our answer is 598. Now, after you complete this page, there is a little joke at the bottom. It says, what did one wall say to the other wall? Write the letters in the boxes below to find out. So, what this means is you're going to answer the question. You're going to do your adding in the ones place and the tens and the hundreds, and then you're going to see your answer has a letter by it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my answer 598 and then there's an A. So I'm going to look for at the bottom 598. Oh, and then there's an A. And that is a way for me to check, oh, I got the answer correct. I did it correctly. If you don't see your answer from up here down below, it means we probably made a little mistake and we should go back and check our work. So this one is A. And that's a way for us to kind of check, did I do my problem correctly? I did. Give yourself a little star. All right, so enjoy doing some math computation today, scholars, and I will see you again soon.